After cutting off my family for missing my graduation, due to my golden child sister, they reached out when my dad was dying. His last wish was to support my jobless sister. So, about 10 days ago, I heard from my family after not talking to them for a whole decade. I am a 31-year-old woman now, but this all started when I was 21, just after graduating from college. Back then, I made the choice to cut ties with my family and move away. The main reason was how they treated me compared to my twin sister. Let's call her Rebecca. She's 12 minutes older than me, and for some reason, my family has always treated her like she's the best thing ever, while I was pretty much ignored. Growing up, Rebecca was the golden child. My family seemed to love everything she did while I couldn't catch a break. It's weird because, honestly, I've achieved a lot more than she has. I was always the better student, better at sports, and even better at stuff she claimed to be an expert in, like art. I worked so hard to outshine her, hoping it would make my parents notice and love me more. But instead, it seemed to backfire. To them, it probably looked like I was just trying to show her up, even though all I wanted was the same love and attention she got. My parents always backed Rebecca up in everything. They enrolled her in any class she wanted and bought her whatever she asked for. She had them wrapped around her finger. For me, it was the opposite. Anytime I asked for something, I got told not to act spoiled. When it came to paying for college, they refused to help. I had good grades and got into a reputable business school, but they made me take out student loans to cover everything myself. That hurt, but I needed their help to get the loans, so I kept quiet. Over time, I accepted that my parents weren't going to love me like they loved Rebecca. While I was in college, I rarely kept in touch, and coming home for the holidays and avoiding deep conversations with them. By graduation, I invited them to the ceremony, but they didn't respond. I tried calling, emailing, and even thought about going to see them, but no luck. Later, I found out they didn't come because my graduation was on the same day as Rebecca's, first day at a community college art class. That's when it really hit me. My existence didn't matter to them. That was the moment I decided to cut them off completely. I blocked my parents and Rebecca everywhere. Rebecca and I never had a good relationship anyway. She always thought she was better than me, even though I had plenty of proof that I was better in so many areas. She was arrogant and smug, so cutting her off didn't bother me at all. Without any family support, I had to manage on my own, especially with student loans to pay off. I took the first job I could and worked hard to prove I could succeed without my parents. It was tough at first, but I had great friends from school who supported me. Now, I'm in a really good place, both financially and mentally. For the past 5 years, I've been working at a vegan products company and have been thinking about starting my own business. I'm really passionate about the vegan lifestyle, even though I'm not vegan myself, and I see a lot of potential in the market. I've been planning this venture for a few months and talking to people interested in joining me. The plan was to finalize my business model, get some investors, and then quit my job to launch my own company. But then, last week, I got unexpected news. My family reached out to say my father is on his deathbed and wants to see me. It's been 10 years since I've spoken to anyone in my family, so I was really shocked that they contacted me. When I found out my dad had been fighting cancer for the past 3 years, I dropped everything to go back home. Fortunately, by the time I arrived, his condition had gotten really bad, and there wasn't much hope left. They probably invited me to visit him one last time, because he wanted to make things right with me, or maybe to talk about my sister. Seeing him in the hospital almost caused me to break down. I'd never seen him like that before. My mom hugged me, and it was just incredibly painful, to be honest. For a while, I forgot about everything else and was just worried about whether my dad would make it or not. Rebecca was there too, but she didn't make any effort to talk to me. She just sat in the corner the entire time, which annoyed me, so I didn't speak to her either. My mom talked to me a bit about my dad, but I really didn't care to interact with Rebecca. Honestly, I don't like her and have zero interest in what she's up to. It seemed like the rest of the family didn't mind our behavior, probably because they knew about the rough relationship we had. Just a week ago, 2 days after my arrival, my dad passed away. Everyone already knew he wouldn't make it, so my mom and sister had arranged the funeral quickly. I managed to head back home soon after, but unfortunately, I had agreed to something I really didn't want to do before my dad passed. On the second day of my visit, Rebecca had gone home exhausted, and it was just my parents and me in the hospital room. They started talking about my work, and I thought it was just innocent conversation. I mentioned I had a good job at a successful company for the past 2 years. They congratulated me, but then shifted the conversation to Rebecca. They said she had dropped out of community college after just a couple of months and never went back. She didn't have a degree, and her grades weren't great either, making it hard to explain the gap on her resume. She didn't do much until she was 25 when my parents pressured her to get a job. But she never held one for more than 3 or 4 months and would always come back home saying she quit because it was too hard or they didn't pay enough. It was clear to me that she was working low-paying jobs because she didn't have a degree and wasn't willing to put in the effort to climb the ladder. My parents had been fighting with Rebecca, trying to make her more independent, but she didn't seem to care. She quit her last job 6 months ago and had been doing nothing since. They told me they were really worried about her and wanted me to look out for her after my dad was gone. My mom was too old to keep supporting her, especially since she was close to retiring. Honestly, I didn't know how to respond. My dad was suffering, and I didn't want to break his heart after so long without contact. I was having mixed emotions and tried to explain that I was planning to start my own business, making it the wrong time to take on such a responsibility. Rebecca was a liability and showed no interest in earning her own money. She was comfortable living off others, mainly our parents. But my dad insisted, mentioning how much money they had spent on his health care and how he wanted my mom to be comfortable after he was gone. He knew I would look out for Rebecca, which is why he was counting on me. He kind of manipulated me into agreeing to take care of her, making me promise to put my business plans on hold until Rebecca was financially stable. So, I promised to look out for her, even though I really didn't want to. I didn't really know how long it would take, but I said yes anyway. I just couldn't bring myself to say no to someone who was on his deathbed, even if he wasn't exactly Father of the Year. It felt wrong to refuse, and maybe that was a dumb move, but I think most people in my shoes would have done the same. If somebody could have stood up to their dying parent like that, well, kudos to them. But I'm not that strong. I ended up agreeing to it, not because I was happy about it, but because my dad was about to pass away, and I couldn't deny his last wish. My parents filled me in on what it involved. Turns out, Rebecca was dating some guy from school named Jared, and she was planning to visit him since he worked in another city but still in the same state. Honestly, I didn't get why they couldn't see each other more often. I mean, Jared had a job. He could come visit her too. They were doing the long-distance thing, which never seemed ideal to me, but they made it work, I guess. I knew Jared a bit and wasn't exactly thrilled about him. In school, he had a rep for being a flirt and had been caught cheating on his girlfriends multiple times. I lost track of him after graduation, but I did hear he'd already been divorced once, and, yep, for infidelity. Not the kind of guy I'd trust. I tried explaining this to my parents, but they were convinced Rebecca and Jared were perfect together. They'd seen them together during his holiday visits and thought they were head over heels in love. I had a bad feeling, especially since they were in a long-distance relationship. It just seemed like an open invitation for Jared to cheat without getting caught. But my parents wanted me to pay for Rebecca's flight to see him after Dad passed, thinking she'd need someone since Mom would be busy with legal stuff and I'd have to get back to work. They wanted Jared to be that someone. I tried to warn them about Jared and the potential fallout, but they were adamant. They were sure Rebecca and Jared were meant to be, and even hinted I'd be footing the bill for their future wedding. Convincing them otherwise was pointless, so I caved in. After Dad's funeral, I pulled Rebecca aside and told her what I knew about Jared. I warned her about his history, but she brushed it off, saying he had changed and they were in love. She appreciated the financial support, but made it clear she didn't need me playing the role of a parent. That stung, but I decided to respect her wishes. Dad had only asked me to support her financially, not emotionally, so I focused on my work and kept my distance. A week after the funeral, Mom asked me to book Rebecca's flight to see Jared, which I did without checking in further. I got caught up with work until yesterday when Rebecca showed up at my doorstep, looking exhausted and in tears. She'd taken a bus from Jared's city to mine, too embarrassed to call or go home. After traveling for 10 hours, she was a wreck. She immediately started crying and admitted I was right about Jared. She had planned to surprise him, but found him with another girl when she arrived. She confronted him, but he told her to mind her own business. It was a mess, and seeing her like that made me realize how complicated this whole situation had become. So, he basically told her they weren't exclusive and that he was free to do whatever he wanted when he wasn't with her. Naturally, this really pissed her off. In her mind, they'd been together for 2 years, and she was totally committed, even thinking about marriage. So, it was a major blow. They got into this huge fight in his hallway. She was so angry that she picked up her duffel bag and hit him with it. Unluckily, one of the chains on the bag caught his eyebrow, and he started bleeding pretty badly. She freaked out, ran for it, and caught the first bus she could to get away. Now she's here, asking for my help. She told me she wants to learn to be independent and get her life together, and she thinks I'm the best person for the job because I've been doing my own thing for nearly 10 years now. She also mentioned that she knew I was starting my own business and hoped I'd take her on as a partner, not just an employee. It was a lot to take in. Before committing to anything, I asked if Jared had pressed charges because, honestly, if he had, I didn't want to be involved. What she did was wrong, no matter what Jared was doing. Physical violence isn't okay, and she could get arrested for it. Turns out she hadn't managed to escape. Jared did press charges, and she had to pay a hefty fine. I told her bluntly that I couldn't help her and suggested she go back home. She got upset, reminding me of a promise I'd made to our father before he passed away. But I told her that promise didn't matter anymore because she kept making dumb decisions. I didn't want to be the one cleaning up her messes. I just wanted to focus on starting my own business and didn't need the liability. I booked her a flight home and told her she was on her own after that. Naturally, my mom is pissed at me now. She thinks I should have been kinder and taken my sister on as a business partner, believing this was her chance to turn her life around. My mom keeps calling and messaging, reminding me of that promise to my dad. But I don't feel like I was being selfish. I even booked her flight home, which I thought was pretty generous. Now she has to figure out how to pay the fine to Jared, but that's her problem. Update. It's been 3 days since my sister came to visit, and I turned her away. My mom kept trying to contact me, so I blocked her. It was getting on my nerves. Yes, I promised my dad, but I was pressured into it. It wasn't something I genuinely wanted to do. A lot of people even commented that it was manipulative of my parents to get me to promise something like that right before my dad died. It was clear they just wanted me to help Rebecca after my dad was gone. Even though he was my dad, and it hurt to see him die, I can't help but feel that they always favored Rebecca. They only cared about her, and I felt like I was just there to fill in the gaps. I don't really miss him anymore. I've never really gotten along with my family, and for the last decade, I haven't kept in touch with any of them. Honestly, I feel pretty let down and disappointed. I made the mistake of believing that things might change between us, or that my family might actually start caring about something other than my sister. But I guess that was never going to happen, right? Anyway, I've realized that I can care about so many things that have nothing to do with her, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm focusing on starting my own business now, and I'm not going to let anyone stop me. I got distracted once before, and it didn't end well for me. I won't let that happen again. Oh, and here's an update on the family situation. Rebecca reached out to me today. I guess I forgot to block her. She texted to let me know she managed to pay off the fine without my help. She also mentioned that our mom is really disappointed in me and never wants to see me again. Honestly, that's fine by me, because I didn't want to see them either. They only reached out to me when they needed money, not because they cared about me as a person. They were never going to regret how they treated me over the years, and I knew that. So after reading her message, I didn't even bother replying. I just blocked her. I'm done with them. Update 3. It's been a couple of months now, and I wanted to fill you guys in on how my business journey is going. The business model is nearly complete, and every investor I've talked to seems really interested. I'm thinking of quitting my job and handing in my resignation in a few days because I finally feel ready for the next chapter in my life. I've gone no contact with my family again, and honestly, things have never been better. Cutting ties with them was the best decision I could have made. This business, it's going to be my new family now.